Hi, my name is Jochebed Isaacs and welcome back to Autism at Home, brought to you by us at Early Autism Project Malaysia through our non-profit initiative, The Hope Project. Today, I hope to continue to answer some of the most frequently asked questions on autism from our experience. And today's question is a huge one, of course. What are the next steps, or what is an effective treatment program for children with autism? Now, I'm not going to go into an analysis of all the treatments out there, but I am going to speak more from personal and professional experience. I've been working in the field of autism for now over 20 years, and the first time I met a child with autism was way back in late 2003, early 2004, when I was finishing my undergrad in psychology. I needed a part-time job and there were openings for therapists for children with autism, and so I signed up. I took a one-day course in ABA, which is totally insufficient, by the way. Best practice requires at least 40 hours of training in theory and practical. And our EAP team actually goes through a whole month of initial training. What really caught my attention at that time was the significant change in the children that I was working with within just a couple of weeks, even with my limited training and zero experience at that time. And so in addition to thousands of research articles that support intensive behavioral treatment programs being one of the most effective interventions for children with autism, there's actually some really direct, common sense, practical reasons why ABA is so effective. Firstly, the bottom line when it comes to intervention for children with autism is that due to the developmental gap, there is an urgency to maximize a child's learning as quickly as possible, as early as possible. In the previous clip, we talked about the importance of these developmental assessments in order to identify a child's developmental gap. And this can range from 0 gap, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, and so on. But what is important for parents to understand is that this gap continues to increase with each year passing as the developmental expectations also increase with each milestone. Therefore, if a child is having to learn more than the actual time frame, for example, to catch up 18 months or 24 months in 12 calendar months, and the child seems to learn more gradually than other children their age, then this child is going to need to have the most optimal learning environment, which in our personal and professional experience looks like this. It's one-to-one, intensive hours, it has to be individualized, comprehensive, and based on ABA strategies. Now before I get bashed in the comments, let me explain why. Firstly, one-to-one. Okay, cost aside, resources aside, any child who learns anything in a one-to-one setting will immediately have a more intentional and focused learning experience because the teacher is fully focused on that one student 100% of the time versus having 2 students or 3 students or 20 students. The teacher's attention, no matter how excellent they are, will be divided by 2 or 3 or 20. Even myself with 20 years of experience, if you gave me 2 children, 3 children with autism, I just won't be able to have as an effective therapy session. And so to emphasize my point, let's think of any tutoring we go for, be it academics, be it music, be it athletics. Anyone that receives one-to-one tutoring will typically have a higher chance of success. That's why famous athletes have personal coaches. Additionally, now think of children on the spectrum. Now, I explained in our first FAQ about diagnosing a child with autism. Imagine every child with autism presents different strengths, different challenges, not to mention being at different levels of the spectrum. Now, imagine trying to teach 2 to 3 children at one time. One child may be walking off, one child may be swiping the book off the table, one child may be stimming with the wheels of the car, and no matter how excellent and experienced the teacher is, he or she will not be able to maximize every child's learning at the same time in a group setting at that stage. Now, I'm going to quickly answer a question also. I'm sure many of you are thinking, what about socializing then? Or maybe you'd like your child to be around other children in a natural environment and in order to learn from them. And that is definitely part of the plan. But that is also with the presumption that a child with autism is able to learn naturally from their environment. which from our experience can be extremely difficult for children with autism, especially at the start, simply because they just lack the core foundational skills at that time of cooperation, imitation, and attention. Therefore, we actually need to teach these foundational skills to the child as quickly as possible in order for the child to hopefully then be able to learn naturally from the group environment and their peers. If these foundational core skills are not there, then some children may just be physically in the group environment but still remain in their own world the whole time. Now, secondly, intensive hours. Now, based on the research studies that have shown ABA to be extremely effective, in addition to the therapy being delivered in a one-to-one setting, the children also receive intensive hours, with 32 hours weekly being the magic number. Many therapy services currently recommend between 25 to even 40 hours of one-to-one therapy weekly. And this may seem very intense for some families, as it's about 6 hours of one-to-one therapy Mondays through Fridays. Now again, a very simple rationale to this. Typically, developing children are learning from their environment, hopefully all the time. They're constantly watching, which refers to the ability to attend and to focus. They are imitating, they may be interacting, and of course, all these skills can be very challenging for children with autism who may instead be caught up with their own repetitive behaviors and limited interest. They may have no interest in people and may not have the imitation skills yet at that time. Therefore, in a 24-hour day, assuming a child sleeps 12 hours of the day, they would have another 12 hours in their day. And the question is, what are they doing during those 12 hours? Because whatever they are doing is what they are practicing and what they are strengthening. So perhaps if a child is not communicating, not having eye contact, and practicing repetitive behaviors, these are only going to get stronger and stronger and more established. And even if you get the best therapist, speech therapist, occupational therapist, 1 hour a week, out of 12 hours a day times 7 days a week is actually 84 hours a week. 84 minus 2 is 82 hours. So even if the best speech therapist in the country or world was working with your child 1 hour a week, it's not enough to move the dial in any way, as there's another 82 to 83 hours a week where the child may be unoccupied. But if a child is enrolled in an intensive one-to-one, hopefully ABA therapy, then 6 out of 12 hours a day, the child is being engaged, occupied with fun, meaningful learning activities, building and establishing those foundational skills, critical communication skills, and the list goes on. And of course, collaboratively with a speech therapist and occupational therapist. And finally, the approach itself, which needs to be individualized, but also comprehensive and most importantly based on ABA principles. I won't go into too much detail, but do go back to our very first unit on Autism at Home on teaching a child with autism, where I explain why ABA is so effective. And it's primarily because it's based on operant conditioning, which is in essence using positive reinforcement, which means the teaching methodology is positive and setting children up for success, especially through the 3 key ABA strategies, which are to break complex skills down to their component parts, super easy to learn, to pair these skills with reinforcement, and then to provide sufficient practice. Then every child's program is individualized to their own needs, their spectrum, developmental gap, which is extremely necessary. But also, a good quality ABA program should be fully comprehensive, because not only do we work on the foundational skills of cooperation, imitation, and attention, but we fully cover communication, speech, language, play and social skills, daily living skills, and even pre-academic skills, not to mention managing challenging behaviors. So it's a full breadth, comprehensive program. Anyhow, I'm not here to convince any parents of any service or any product. I'm just sharing practically and from a common sense perspective why what we have seen over the years works so effectively. And of course, why we ourselves continue to champion the accessibility of these services, so that one day, hopefully, every child with autism will be able to access good quality ABA programs. Thank you very much for joining us today, and please do not hesitate to contact us if you need more personalized support. With the amount of interest we have received online, we have actually started providing international services online and have worked over the years with clients in other states of Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, China, Kuwait, New Zealand, and even Switzerland. So do get in touch with us for more information by scanning the QR code. And if you haven't already, do check out our online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the lesson videos, corresponding articles, and downloadables available for you for free. Do stay updated through our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Do click on the subscribe and follow buttons to get more information. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.